bit. I don't ever remember hearing them say I'm bored. They would always find them something to do, and I appreciate that. And I believe the Lord, I believe that's one of the worst things He can hear out of His people, or look down and see on them, that they're bored. I believe we ought to rejoice. I was sitting there tonight, and I was looking through there, picking out songs, and I wanted something that would really show Him that I'm not bored with Him, Rick. Life is tough sometimes. We might get down and out, but I believe the Spirit of the Lord that's in us will override the flesh. Don't you? And I thought, boy, if I could sing a song tonight, if I could pick one out. I was looking through there. I used to love to play Rock Around the Clock. All the little birdies in the jaybird tree, you know, come a little birdie, rock away with me. And I thought, man, I believe I'd show the Lord I'm not bored with Him tonight. Boy, I tell you what, sometimes it seemed like folks, somebody was talking the other day. I remember who it was, but I'm not going to mention their name on the phone. And they was talking about these individuals love drama. My goodness gracious, the greatest stories ever told that'll excite us is Jesus Christ. And the joy of the Lord, the Bible said, is our strength. It's no wonder sometimes that we're weak because we don't have no joy. And we need, as Paul told Timothy, to stir it up. And it all comes through them by the Son. If we don't get the Son, we don't get nothing. I read a story a long time ago, 2 stories on my mind, but one of them talked about this man, and he was a wealthy man. His wife died tragically. Wasn't but a few years, his only son died. Said there he left and lived the remainder of his life, which was several years by himself and all alone. Said he didn't have any heirs, and said so many people wonder what in the world is going to happen to all of his riches. Well, he died one day, and all the neighbors thought, well, the state will take it. The state thought that they was going to take it. So the state set up an estate sale, and they had an auction. Folks began to file through, and they bought all of his furniture. Some was of great value, some wasn't. But said the sale was practically over. Wasn't hardly anything left in the house. There was a big old picture that he had someone to paint right before his son died. And said that the lady had come through there, and she said, is the sale over? And the person conducting the sale said, yeah, for the most part the sale's over. Said, we don't have, as you can see, a lot to sell here. And said, well, basically, others some things that there's no value to anybody. Said, and you probably wouldn't think it is either. Said, but that picture there on the wall of his son. She said, oh, my goodness gracious. Said, I'm so shocked that it's still here. She said, that's why I stopped by to see if that painting was here. I was here many years ago, and I saw that painting, and it holds dear value to him. She told the person, she said, I was his nurse when he was a child. And said when he was sick at night, said I called him. I was called, and I'd go down, and I would help the mother take care of him. Said after the mother died, said I took care of him for his father. Said that son's precious to me. So they took it down off of the wall, and she was carrying it home, and somebody, several people there said, boy, I don't know why she's so thrilled. She said, he's dear to me, but she didn't even know, just like us, the Lord's dear to us, but we ain't seen the half of it yet. She got down and she got her a mounting device there. I don't know whether it was a screw or a nail, and she got ready and put it up there and was getting ready to hang the picture. And on the back of the picture was an envelope. She opened up the envelope and she looked. She said that the letter was written by a lawyer, and said it was sealed and all. And the letter was addressed to the purchaser of the picture of his son, Rick. And it said, to the one that loved my son so dearly, enough to take this picture, holds all of my riches. And that day she became a wealthy person. That's the same way, Michael, with Jesus Christ. If God's Son is dear to us, Elman, all the riches of the world and all the riches of heaven are ours. And it's a joy to serve the Lord. Now, as you can tell, I'll tell you what, I'm glad, and I want the Lord to know, even though we might be broke, even though we might have the burdens of the world, the Bible said the joy of the Lord is our strength. And we can have joy in the Lord when we're standing in the midst of hell. Amen? Amen. Aren't you glad for it? Yeah. The other story that was on my mind, most of you older Christians and you younger Christians, if you ever get a chance, pick up some of Gypsy Smith, a great old-time preacher, some of his writings and some of his history that he wrote about himself and was written about the Bible, and some of his testimonies. Gypsy Smith recorded in some of his writings, he said that when he was just a little boy, he was saved, and said God became dear to his heart, and he had such a desire to see his people saved. And I'm not for sure. I remember when I grew up around Gully Bridge, and I don't know about Boone County, and I've not seen gypsies for years. I don't know if y'all have, but up at Gully Bridge, did y'all have gypsies around here? Once or twice a year up at Gully Bridge there at the campground, they would come in campers and tents. Barbara's shaking her head, she remembers. And boy, they'd stay for about 2 weeks. Now, I don't know about the rest of the gypsies, but our gypsies that come into Gully Bridge, buddy, they wasn't no better thieves in all the world. The gypsies would come to, and Mabel's shaking her head. Buddy, they'd pick your pocket, our parents and all, they'd tell us, you watch them gypsies, said they'll steal your shirt right off your back, you won't even know it's gone. And after I went to work for Kroger, the manager, boy, he'd see that, he said, oh no, the gypsies is up the campground, said we're going to have to watch them. And you know what? We'd go back there and we'd have fun, said, well, we're going to catch them. And we'd be staring right at them, and the shelf would be full, and they'd walk off, and we wouldn't even see if they was so slick. They would clean the shelf off, and we would. Now, the religious background, I don't know, I'm sure there was good gypsies, but Gypsy Smith said that it wasn't polite and it wasn't correct for the children to address or instruct or even criticize or try to teach the older. Said the gypsies was taught that the elder, and that's the way it is. The Bible said, ye younger, give respect and give honor to the elder. But anyway, said that they wasn't allowed to try to inform or try to teach in any manner. Said, but he had an uncle that was real dear to him, and said right after he got saved, being just a little boy, he said that he had a strong desire to win his uncle to Jesus Christ, and said he prayed to God. He said, God, help me to figure out a way. He said he loved to pray. He said he spent a lot of time, not boastfully, but said he just had a love and a passion for praying, and said his uncle, he spent hours praying for his uncle. Said one day his uncle told him, and he said, Gypsy had already told himself, he said, I'm not doing any good, and I really want to win my uncle. And he said, I'll go around it or go about it and try to get on the conversation, and he'll change it. He said, but one day his uncle come up to him, and he said, Gypsy, he said, I want to ask you something. He said, you're not a rowdy boy. He said, but I've watched you. He said, you wear out the knees of your breeches, said, twice as fast as all the other boys. And he said, you don't carry on like they do. And Gypsy said, well, I don't know. He said, yeah, you do. He said, how in the world you do it? I tried to figure it out and watch it. Said tears run down his face. And he said, Uncle, he said, you know how them knees, holes got in my knees? He said, no, I don't know. He said, that's why I asked you. He said, that's from praying. He said, what do you pray for? He said, I'm praying for you that you would be saved. He said it wasn't but just a few days. He got to kneel down with the knees tore out of his pants and help lead his uncle to Jesus Christ. Ain't God good? Amen. Yeah. See why I feel like it. I want the Lord to know that He's worth it, ain't He? Amen. We're not bored, are we, church? We're not bored with Him. I'll tell you what, I just get bored when folks is not pleased with what the Lord has done. We got a boy that a man that we work with, and he's dying with cancer, Bill Clendenin, and he's going fast. And you know how people are, they get all down and out, and they hate their job, and they hate this. Folks, there's millions and millions of people. If we had it worse than anybody in the state, there's millions of people trade places with us tonight. Right. Amen? Sure are. They'd trade health with us. They'd trade riches with us. They'd think that we was rich and we think we're poor. God's good to us, isn't He? Once you